Diana and Actaeon censorship through art. Diana and Actaeon is one of 6 large mythological paintings by Titan, created between 5051 and 5062 for King Philip of Spain. These works, often referred to as poesy, were intended to be visual equivalents of poetry, exploring classical mythological themes. Titan's work reflects the ongoing debate about the role of painting as an art form, with comparisons often made between painting and poetry.
So my name is Devi, and today I would like to do the presentation about the painter Tiziano Veselio. So Titian was an Italian Renaissance painter, the most important artist of Renaissance Venetian painting, and he was born in Pieve di Cadore near Belluno. And during his lifetime, he was often called the Cadore, means from Cadore, taken from his native region. And Titian was one of the most versatile of Italian painters, equally adept with portraits, landscape, backgrounds, and mythological and religious subjects. His painting methods, particularly in the application and use of color, his career was successful from the start, and he became sought after by patrons, initially from Venice and its possession. So now we will talk about Titian's autobiography, starting from his early years. So the exact time or date of Titian's birth is uncertain. When he was an old man, he claimed in a letter to Philip, King of Spain, to have been born in 1474. But this seems most unlikely. Most modern scholars believe a date between 1488 and 1419 is more likely, though his age of death being 99 had been accepted into the 20th centuries. He was the son of Gregorio Veselio and his wife Lucia, of whom little is known. Gregorio was superintendent of the castle of Pieve in Cadore and managed local mines for their owners. So during the last 26 years of his life, Titian worked mainly for Philip, and as a portrait painter, he became more self-critical and insatiable perfectionist, keeping some pictures in his studio for 10 years, returning to them and retouching them, constantly adding new expressions at once more refined, concise, and subtle. He also finished many copies that his pupils made of his early works. This caused problems of attribution and priority among versions of his works, which were also widely copied and faked outside his studio during his lifetime and afterwards. So Titian had engaged his daughter, Lavinia, the beautiful girl whom he loved deeply, and painted various times. So Titian died on the 27th of August, 1576. Depending on his unknown birth date, he was somewhere from his late 80s or even close to 100. Very shortly after Titian's death, his son, assistant and sole heir Orozio, also died of the plague. Themes and iconographical of Titian's work. So the themes elements in Titian's work, such as mythology and classical themes, religious and biblical themes, portraiture, landscape and the natural world, and also light and color. And for the iconographic elements in Titian works, such as red, eyes, and clothing and texture. And now we will talk about the global influence of Titian. So the global influence of Titian Veselio is immense, and his legacy continues to reverberate through the history of Western art as one of the preeminent figures of the Venetian Renaissance. Titian's impact transcended both geographical boundaries and the limitation of his time. His contribution to painting, particularly in the realms of color, Portraiture and the expression of human emotion have shaped art movement, inspired countless artists, and left an indelible mark on the trajectory of Western art history. So for the painters, Titian, for the autobiography, terms and iconographic, also the global influence. If you guys have interest with the story and wanted to see the details, you guys can visit our website that we made, that our group made, and read it all of the information. Thank you.
Now let's move on to the story of Diana and Actaeon. The story from Ovid's Metamorphosis tells how Actaeon accidentally sees the goddess Diana bathing. In anger, Diana transforms him into a stag, where he is killed by his own hounds. This myth has been used by artists to explore themes of censorship, exile, and the consequences of accidental actions, with Titan's painting offering a visual interpretation of Actaeon's tragic fate. Now let's look into more about the painting. Diana and Actaeon depicts the moment Actaeon stumbles upon Diana and her nymphs bathing. Diana, enraged, prepares to punish Actaeon. The painting contrasts Actaeon's guilt and Diana's embarrassment, exploring themes of fate and innocence. Titan's use of vibrant colors and dynamic brushwork enhances the drama of the scene. Now let's move on to the depiction in the artwork. In the painting, Actaeon appears surprised and guilty, while Diana looks fearful rather than angry. The artwork raises questions about whether Actaeon's actions were intentional or purely accidental. The scene also reflects Titan's skill in capturing physical realism, using lively brushstrokes and dramatic lighting to intensify the emotions of the characters. The painting also includes social and physical realism. Titan's portrayal of the nymphs includes a black servant, reflecting social reality in Venice at the time. He used models from the working class, possibly including women from Venice's sex worker community, to bring realism to the figures. This adds layers of contemporary social context to the mythological scene. Moving on to the history of ownership of the painting. Titan's Diana and Actaeon was part of a series of mythological paintings for King Philip of Spain. After being completed, the paintings were displayed in various royal locations, eventually ending up in the National Gallery and the Scottish National Gallery after years of ownership. These paintings are now displayed alternately in London and Edinburgh. Moving on to Titan's working process. Titan took over 3 years to complete Diana and Actaeon, and Diana and Callisto, constantly revising them to meet his high standards. The artist's meticulous work is evident in the painting's complex brushstrokes and vibrant colors, which remain in excellent condition despite several restorations. The National Gallery London and National Galleries of Scotland acquired Diana and Actaeon for £50 million in 2009. The painting will alternate between the two galleries on 5-year terms, making it a significant piece in both institutions' collections.
So the following one, I would like to introduce the point. About the point name is George Schultes. So George Schultes was born in Hungary and emigrated to England with his parents. The Black War of concentration and labor comes after the 1956 with the price uprising. Schultes studied painting at Howard School of Art and Leeds College of Art and Design, and did his study with Martin Bells, who encouraged Schultes and his began to develop his practice and engage in a mix of Buddhist individualism and European influence in math. fairy tale, and legends. Shooty's attention, shape, and sound cultivate through his background in visual art and his bilingual upbringing quickly led to his successful embrace of Bumo's verse. In an essay, his poetry magazine, defining from Schultes agreed that rhyme can be unspent evolution, the paper nurse that somehow, against all the odds, helped us speak the words together while all the time drawing attention to his own fabricated nature. So the following ones, we talk about the history, background, and influence. So his childhood was shaped by Hungarian's political upheavals, particularly the 1956 Hungarian Revolution. Following the revolution's proceedings, his family fled Hungary and eventually settled in the United Kingdom. The exile profoundly influenced his work, which often explored themes of identities, memory, and history. It also delves into the interplay between culture and language, his shaping personal identities, moreover, as a significant translator. Next, we talk about the notable books or portraits. The first one we talk about the Slender in the 1979. Shooter's debut portrait collection with its portrait of exile, memory, and identity, marking his arrival as a significant poetic voice. The second one is Rio in the 2004, which won the T.S. Solians Prize. Is for a theme of memory, history, and personal identity, often shaped by his experience as Hungarian refugees living in England. The poems reflect his unique, unique style, blending visual imagery with formal suggestion, like sonnet and third rima. Shooters used his poetic lens to ignite displacement, cultural alienation, and the passage of time. The collection is characterized by moments of tennis and surrealism, evoking feeling of both connection and estrangement. So the third is mapping the delta in the 2016. So the work shortlisted for a T.S. Solians Prize addressed theme of displacement, geography, and human resilience. The fourth is the photographers at 16 in 2019. So a memoir is poetic prose about Shuti's mother, exploring her life, acad acad the fight is bad machines in 2030. A deeply thought-provoking collection deal with memory, mortality, and the fragility of human existed. Next is experience or emotion. Early experience of exile profoundly influenced his sense of identities, memory, and belonging. His work often reflects the emotional complexity of leaving his homeland and adapting to a new one. He's described himself as someone who belongs yet do not fully belong to either Hungary or England. A duality that deeply informed his poetry. So the Schultes began writing poetry at 70, finding in an instinctive way to process his emotion. He remarked that exile made him observe, allowing him to see both culture from a unique perspective. So his point frequently explores themes of childhood memories, Romero's trauma, and the role of language in shaping identities. By the way, poetry recitation and at cold start lightings. Remember first word poetry and international conversation adopts state. So next we talk about the nature and scenery depictions. So in George Sutton's poetry, description of nature and landscape are often intertwined with theme of memory, times, and emotion. So the shortest frequently imposed it on tangible elements of nature, such as light, trees, or flowing water, to the convince a sense of the timelessness or the transience nature of life. For instance, in his point, burning house nature elements are used to marry the fragility and isolation of the human condition. He excelled at linking external landscape with the internal emotion state, crafting a seamless connection between environment and thoughts.
And here is the page that shows out the poem, which is by George Surtees, the Actaeon, this poem's name. And this poem is a response to three of Titian's paintings that are Diana and Actaeon, and the second one, The Death of Actaeon, and the third one, Diana and Callisto, which depict stories from Ovid's epic poem, Metamorphosis. And the next page shows out the myth and history of this poem shows and the backstory of this poem. There is a myth in this poem is experienced intimately from the male perspective, and also the larger parables that emerge concern bodily limits and mortality. And also the hounds that run Actaeon into the ground may be those of time as well as desire. And on the bottom there are more information about the histories and the myths. And the next page is about, in the poem, it says about Actaeon's point of view. So we can see that there are some lines talking about how Actaeon's feeling, how Actaeon's know about some things, or how he thinks. An example is that there's a question: does desire have thoughts or define its object? consuming all in a glance. It seems like it's a disguised plea not guilty, but it is desire itself is not a violation, as he thinks. And also the poem's answers that it seems to be that Actaeon's metaphysical theft and the literal destruction, and also Diana unleashes are equally necessary fatal flaws in the moral scheme. So there are also some lines that also shows out how he thinks. And here are also meanings behind the poem, the pages. In some stanza, it shows out how there are some other meanings, not only the plain, but also behind. Such as in the fifth stanza, it will be revealed is finally looking straight at himself because of Diana. And also here are two videos that related to this poem, Actaeon. One of them is George Zertis reading this poem. And the next one is the video about he describes his creative process to the poem Actaeon, and also talk about how he gets inspiration from the artist Titan and with the three artworks, as we said about that.
So that will be the end of our presentation. If you're interested in checking our videos, our resources, and for more information about Diana and Actaeon, you can always go to our website. Thank you.